So it's officially December. What is the creepiest thing that's happened to you so far this holiday season?
Oh, God. That's a rough one. I don't know. It's hard because, I usually chalk everything up to being my cats.
Mm.
So, anything creepy could just be like, that's the cat.
Mm. That's fair.
I mean, I guess when they stare at, weird spaces together without saying anything, that's a little creepy.
Oh, yeah, that is very creepy.
Usually it's a bug, but sometimes it's nothing, and then I'm like, alright, that's a little weird.
I wish that was the creepiest thing that's happened to me so far this holiday season.
Oh, tell me your things.
Oh, I already have. I would say it's that client that I had the other day who walked in.
Gross. That's true.
He found out my name was Ashley, and he was like, my daughter's name is Ashley. You're my daughter. And I was like,
You finally found him. Your father.
Jeff? Dad?
I cannot believe.
Well, I'm glad that this December is not particularly creepy so far. We're only 4 days into it because we record these in advance.
Yeah, haven't had any weird ghosties yet.
Not yet. We'll be counting on them for later. Hello, Hindsight Horror listeners, and welcome to the Friday the 13th episode of Hindsight Horror. Ooh. And just to be clear, we are releasing the episode on Friday the 13th. This is not about the movie Friday the 13th.
That's for a different episode.
That is for a different Friday the 13th.
Coming soon to wherever they listen to podcasts near you.
If it's in your phone screen, you can find us. No, today we are talking about Krampus. Which I'm really excited about.
Jingle, jingle.
We've got this and I think 2 other Christmas horror movies that we're going to be talking about.
I'm so excited.
This month. It's going to be a good month, I think.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah. So, to get us in that spooky Christmas season mood, we're going to be taking a little BuzzFeed quiz that says, would you survive this Christmas horror movie? I keep almost saying this Friday the 13th is Black Friday, but it's because there's this Christmas movie coming out on Friday the 13th called Black Christmas. And my brain is like, Black Friday, and I know, we already have been through Black Friday, so I know that's not what it is.
It already happened.
Thank God. So I'll just jump right in.
Alright, I should read the intro to this quiz, because I guess it has to do with this first question now that I'm looking at it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it says, you and your BFF are staying out of the winter cold by bundling up with hot cocoa by the fire. I really want hot cocoa right this second. That is not part of this quiz. I just really want hot cocoa.
Same. I have eggnog.
I don't know how I feel about eggnog. I've never actually had it.
Okay, well, we're gonna change that, but...
Anyway, all of a sudden the lights go out and you get a phone call.
Ooh.
But
it was phone.
But who was phone? It says you just hear breathing on the other end of the line. What do you do? The options are tell them that they dialed the wrong number, ask if they know a good electrician, and the other one says I didn't answer, which is going to be my choice because I never pick up the phone, especially if I don't know who it is.
Okay, I was gonna say I didn't answer too, but for the sake of us not getting the same answer, I'm just gonna say tell them they dialed the wrong number. But people do call work all the time and just breathe into the phone.
Ew.
I know.
Why?
Also creepy things that are happening this Christmas season.
Oh my God. Ready for the next question?
Yes.
Alright, you go to find a flashlight when you hear footsteps on the stairs. You decide to get back to your friends. Strength in numbers, it says. Investigate the sound, it's probably nothing. Or find a place to hide.
I mean, I would say get back to your friends, strength in numbers, because I'm not one of those assholes.
Why are we the same person? Well, I guess to be different. I'll pick investigate the sound. It's probably nothing.
That is very Gryffindorian of you.
Listen, I'm not gonna find a place to hide. It's footsteps in my house. Who cares?
Yeah, that's kind of a weird question. Anyway.
The footsteps are getting louder and closer. Hide. Where do you hide? Behind the curtains, under the table, or behind the couch?
Okay, this one's hard because they don't have a picture of the room.
Yeah, and I don't know.
What if the couch is in the middle of the room?
Yeah, my couch is directly against the wall. There is no way to climb behind it unless I am a literal mouse. And under the table, like, is there a tablecloth? Am I just sitting under a bare table? Are there chairs around? I got a question.
I know, and then, well, I mean, behind the curtains isn't foolproof because you might be able to see the feet.
Yeah, or what if they're, like, sheer curtains? Like,
I don't know. I guess I would say behind the couch because I don't think I'd be able to fit under a table and not be seen.
I don't know what to do. I guess I'll pick under the table. I don't want to pick the same answers, but we are the same answers.
I know.
You see a hooded figure heading towards you. Make a run for it. Do you run to the garage, upstairs, or the kitchen?
This is my pet peeve in horror movies. I hate when people run up the stairs because you're, like, trapping yourself in the house.
Well, yeah. I would go to the garage.
Okay, I was gonna say garage too, but I'll say the kitchen.
Haha! You can't have all of the answers that are us.
Damn it.
The dark figure chases you. You need to fight back. Use a Christmas decoration as a weapon. Candy canes, a string of lights, or a tree ornament. I need a lot more detail than that. Who's just pelting candy canes at people?
Okay, not pelting, but you could sharpen the end of it into, like,
Do you
a
know
spear.
how long that would take?
I'm just saying.
Wait right there, killer, as I sit here for half an hour and
Get
suck
them
on
ready
this.
while you're hiding under the table.
Oh my god.
I'm gonna say a string of lights.
Why are you like this? Well, even though I just complained about them, to be different, I'll pick candy canes.
The candy canes.
Well, I'm not gonna use a tree ornament.
No, because, like, I mean, I guess some of them could do damage, but none of mine are gonna, like, I don't know, effectively put somebody off from chasing me.
That's a mood. Looks like you hurt them pretty badly. What's your final move? Make sure they're down for good, or get the heck out of there. Down for good.
Yeah, double tap.
I
I guess I'll say get the heck out of there. Ooh, okay. You survived. No one messes with your crew. You used your brains and your instincts to keep you and your friends safe. You are a real horror movie pro.
also got you survived.
Well, what was the point of changing all the answers?
I don't even know anymore. Well, whatever. We survived. We're cool.
We both survived. We're both
Hooray.
killing the horror movie game.
Hell yeah.
So the movie Krampus came out in 2015.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember seeing trailers for it, and I just didn't get to see it for some reason.
Rip.
So,
Honestly, a tragedy.
That it really is, because I actually liked this movie a lot. Last night was my first time watching it. And I just watched it again with my dad this morning.
It's so good.
It is really good. I mean, I think there are some parts where the pacing's a little funky.
That's fair.
But overall, like, I didn't have too many complaints about it.
Yeah. It's definitely a really, like, good movie, especially in a way that I wasn't expecting it to be a really good movie. Like,
yeah,
when I was first, like, gonna go watch it and everything, I was like, all right, whatever. It's just gonna be, like, your general, like, run-of-the-mill horror movie, but about Christmas. And, like, I don't know, it had a really, like, nice message, I feel like, and I just really enjoy it. And also, I'm a fucking slut for anything Krampus.
That's how I feel just about Christmas stuff in general. So, like, yeah, I agree, though. I wasn't expecting much. Maybe that's why it, like, exceeded my expectations, because I wasn't really expecting anything. Krampus is both directed and co-written by Michael Dougherty, who did Trick or Treat, which I don't think you've seen.
I have not seen that.
But if you've seen, his name's Sam, but he's, like, this little kid in, like, it's like a burlap sack-looking mask thing, and he's, like, licking the pumpkin lollipop.
Okay.
The pumpkin lollipop you've probably seen just around. But anyway, so that's Michael Dougherty. This had a $15 million budget, but it made $61.5 million in the box office, so it did pretty well.
Hell yeah.
Which is nice to see, because I really liked it, so I'd be bummed if it didn't do well. But the ratings aren't great on it. It's got like a 6 out of 10, I think, on IMDb.
Aw, but I like it so much.
I know. That being said, I, like, never feel the same way as other people do regarding the rating system like that.
That's fair.
So
I think I want to say that, like, maybe it's Labyrinth or Princess Bride. It's one of those cult movies, and it's, like, rated really poorly. And I am obsessed with both of those, by the way. But just, like,
in general,
both of those movies are fantastic, and they have, like, at least one of them has, like, a shitty rating. I want to say. I don't know. I don't go by those all the time. So
no, I usually don't.
Nah.
It's also, like, not a full horror. It's like a horror comedy drama.
My favorite.
Which is pretty cool.
In general, Krampus is sort of, and he's like, I don't want to say accomplice, because that's not it. Companion. He's a companion to Santa.
Yeah.
He's a shadow, basically. And he's like, whereas in the US anyway, in this day and age, we've all been brought up to say, like, oh, Santa's going to be, like, he'll bring gifts to good children, and he'll bring coal to ones who are bad. In, like, a lot of, like, more traditional places in, like, Europe and everything, like, especially the north, around, like, I want to say the Scandinavian countries, a lot of, like, German countries, Krampus was the punishment. He was the punishment. He was going to come and he was going to dole out the punishments.
Right.
Whereas Santa was purely for good and for, like, giving rewards to kids who were good. Krampus would have different levels of, like, reprimanding of, like, children that were bad during the year. And for a lot of it, he would, I think a lot of the stories say that he, like, would bring around like birch switches, like, which is basically just like little twigs that he's gonna hit you on the ass with.
Yeah.
So he gonna whoop your ass for being a bad kid. And if you were really bad, he would take you away in this, like, big terrible sack that he carried with him and, like, take you away. Nobody knows what happens. Like, some people say that he would eat you, that he would, like, lock you up and shit, like, all kinds of nonsense. But basically, you were never heard from again after that. Right. Which is, you know, a lot more inspiring to be good. But anyway, Krampus has gained a lot of popularity in, at least in the US. Obviously, that's my only perspective because I live here. Like, they even did an episode in, like, American Dad. Like, they've gotten several movies. Like, a lot of people, I feel like, have become more aware of the general lore of, like, Krampus. And they even have I think, I don't know where in Europe, but they have, like, Krampusnacht, and it's, like, this huge, like, thing. It's, like, basically it means Krampus night. And so, like...
Yeah, it's like a big festival, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which so would love to go to. But yeah, so he's become, you know, just a more fun symbol, I guess, like, over the years, you know?
Right.
But the general message was, like, he was gonna fuck you up if you were bad.
Which, like, when this movie came out, a ton of people were really upset about this movie, and they were trying to say that it was a very, like, anti-Christmas message, and I would argue and say that it's a very pro-Christmas message. It's kind of like a Christmas Carol. Like, it's using that message to scare you straight so that you can enjoy Christmas and not be bad.
Right.
The other thing about Krampus is that he's, like, half goat.
Yeah.
So he's, like, a half goat, half demon, and his origin is not totally known, but I was reading into it, and apparently there are, like, folklorists and anthropologists who think that it has, like, pre-Christian roots.
Mm-hmm. Well, that makes sense.
Yeah, they think he's, like, based on the pagan horned god, like, the image of him, and that then Christians carried it over and appropriated it.
Right, yeah. I also think it's interesting, just the existence of Krampus, especially because, like, I only recently found out about this interesting Welsh tradition where they have this, like, horse skeleton that they put outside, I guess, around Christmas time.
What is up with that?
I actually don't know. I didn't get to read a whole lot into it. I only, like, just started to, like, see it, like, right before this podcast. And I was like, of course. You know, a horse is a horse, of course. Anyway. But yeah, so I just think it's interesting, like, that, because it is important, I think, to address, you know, darker themes in Christmas months. Everybody wants to gloss over it with, you know, having to feel, like, grateful and joyful about everything. And then, like, I feel like a lot of times that ends up becoming the opposite because we're all stressed about getting toys for everybody and, like, this, that, and the other thing and having to deal with so many people. And it's just, you know.
Right. And I struggle with this every year, where every year I feel like I'm really focused on, like, buying presents for people. I get less and less, like, excited about Christmas, it feels like. I feel like this is the first year that I've been more excited for it and a little less stressed about having to buy people things.
Right.
But I definitely feel like, I don't know, we've all kind of lost the meaning of it a little bit.
Right.
Which is what this movie is about.
We've come full circle.
We have come full circle. So, the way Krampus opens, even, is a bunch of people...
My favorite.
running into Mucho Mart, and it's, like, it's absolute chaos. And the song It's Beginning to Look a Lot Like Christmas is playing in the background. And there are people trampling the cashiers. There are people beating each other. And just everybody looks miserable. Nobody looks excited to be there. And at first I thought maybe it was supposed to be like a Black Friday kind of thing. Mm-hmm. But we find out that it's like December 23rd.
Yeah.
That day. And so then you're kind of going through this scene of just utter chaos. And then you see two kids wailing on each other in the middle of what's supposed to be like a play rehearsal.
Yeah, it's supposed to be like the nativity scene, I guess. Like, So they're doing like a whole thing on that. It looks like one of the wise men is beating up one of like some sort of farm animal, which I think he's supposed to be a deer at the end, which is...
I think he's like a reindeer, yeah.
Yeah. So it was like weird, but you know.
Because there's the one girl and she's dressed up as a Christmas tree and she's like, fight, fight.
I love it. Yeah.
And so then we find out one of the kids, the kid in the reindeer costume, his name is Max, and his parents pull him off the other kid.
Mm-hmm.
So then they go back to Max's house, and A Christmas Carol is playing on the TV.
Yeah.
Which will be important later.
Yeah, it's the 1951 version.
Yeah. And Omi is making cookies. Omi is Max's grandma.
I love her.
I know, me too.
She's
I love her so much.
Good.
She's like making cookies, and like Max just wants to believe in Santa, and like all he wants to do is watch Charlie Brown and wrap Christmas presents together like they do every year. And I got the feeling that he just found out that Santa wasn't real.
Yeah.
Like, maybe not just that day, but I feel like that year he found out that Santa wasn't real.
Right.
And he got into the fight with this kid named Ben because Ben was talking about how Santa was made just to sell Coca-Cola, and like...
He was saying it in front of little kids.
Yeah, and he like didn't want it to be ruined for the little kids, so they just started
fighting.
Beating on each other. Drop kicked him into the manger is what his dad said.
Iconic.
And then they change it. They change what's on the TV, so they change it from A Christmas Carol to a news story. And the woman on the news is saying that it's like a war on Christmas and like political correctness.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you remember this, but so this came out in 2015. Also in 2015 was when Starbucks came out with that cup that was all red, when traditionally in December they had come out with Christmas-themed holiday cup.
Right.
And they were trying to be more inclusive, and everybody just like lost their minds about it.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if that news story was about that, or if it just was like the perfect coincidence that it ended up being in there that same year. But anyway, that's not super important. That was just like, I worked at Starbucks when all that was going down, and that was all I heard about for a month.
Fun. That's what everybody wants to hear around Christmas time.
Right.
When you're working.
Like it's my fault they changed the cup.
Yeah, exactly. You specifically.
Exactly. They're also preparing for, like, Max's aunt and uncle and cousins to come over.
Mm-hmm.
So they're running around, and, like, the mom is cooking and cleaning and doing all this stuff. And the parents are played by Adam Scott and Toni Collette.
Haha.
Which is the best. So the aunt gets there. It's like the aunt, her husband, and her 4 kids.
Many children.
Yeah, four whole children. And a dog.
Yeah, which the dog was not, like, invited.
No,
they just brought the dog.
Yeah, the dog was a surprise guest. And then also Sarah, who is Max's mom, her aunt Dorothy, who was also a surprise guest. So they all sit down to have dinner together, and then they get into a huge fight because Max was writing a Christmas list to Santa. Yeah. And his 2 cousins, Stevie and Jordan, took it and started reading it at the dinner table. And this is the part that makes me feel super bad because his list is...
It's so pure.
It's so pure. Like, he basically is like, I really want my parents to love each other again, and I wish that things weren't so hard for my aunt and uncle, so, like, if you could just lend them a hand for the rest of a year, I would really appreciate it.
He wants more time to spend with his sister Beth. Like, that's so sweet.
Yeah, because he misses her, and he, like, doesn't have a lot of friends.
Yeah.
And they don't finish reading it, but if you pause, you can read the back of the list earlier in the movie when he's writing it.
Yeah.
So it's like, one of the things was that he didn't want his Uncle Howard to keep treating his cousins like they were boys, even when they're girls. Mm-hmm. Because their 4 kids are Stevie, Jordan, Howie, and Chrissy. Mm-hmm. And only Howie is the boy. But Stevie and Jordan are, like, dressed like boys.
Yeah, and they're a little bit older, so they definitely came before Howie, and, like, so those were the only children that, you know, their dad, Howard, had, so...
Right, so we can assume that that's how that went down. So Max is like, I wish that they could just be like themselves, and that their dad would stop wishing they were boys. And he was saying that he thought that Aunt Dorothy was really funny, and that he wished that people would like her more, but also that she would stop pretending that she didn't want to hang out with them.
Right.
And then he says, and thanks for giving me Omi.
Yeah. I cry. What a pure child.
I know.
So good.
So his cousins are reading that at the table and, like, torturing him with it. And then he runs around to try and grab it, and it just turns into another fight. And then Max says, I hate Christmas. Like, I just don't want it to be like this.
Yeah, he says, I hate Christmas and I hate all of you, and then, like, runs up to his room.
So then Max's dad comes up and, like, they have a little heart-to-heart.
Little powwow.
Little powwow.
Little moment.
Because he's like, why do we have to hang out with them just because we share DNA? Like, we don't like them. They're kind of assholes. Yeah. And his dad's like, you know what? You got me there.
But then he does give a nice speech.
Yeah. I mean, he's like, you know, we try to hang out together and, like, maybe we don't have a lot in common, but it's times like these that'll show us what we do have in common. And then he says, you know, you still have enough time to, like, put your Christmas list in the mailbox to Santa. Mm-hmm. And this savage licks the envelope before he puts his letter in it. Who does
that? I was wondering that when I was watching that. Like, Tom leaves the room after giving Max a kiss on the head. Very sweet. Nice father. Anyway, so Max is looking at his letter. He's like, all right, I'm gonna set it. And, like, he puts it, he licks the envelope, then sticks it in. I'm like, what are you doing?
Scariest part of the movie. Max was the monster all along.
That's why he gets punished.
Yeah, exactly. As if that wasn't savage enough, he takes the letter out and rips it up and tosses it out the window, where gravity ceases to work and the pieces of letter just fly up into the sky and disappear.
At least he realizes that's kind of weird, because he, like, stares up at the sky for a hot second, like, whoa.
My dad this morning when he was watching it was like, that's not a sign.
Especially because it immediately started to snow as he closed the window after that.
Yeah, like the storm cloud opens up right over their house.
Yeah. Thunder, lightning, the whole neighborhood goes dark.
Oh, I'm sorry, it was the 22nd earlier. Now it's the 23rd, because they're, like, opening the little advent calendar, like, as it's going.
Right, the doors.
Yeah, so huge, scary snowstorm.
Yep.
And there's this big, creepy snowman sitting outside the house, but no one knows he made it.
Did you want to talk about the picture on the advent calendar? Because it was a snowman.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and the one before it was a gingerbread man, which I just thought was nice, but yeah.
But it's actually some scary foreshadowing.
Don't tell them.
I didn't even notice the gingerbread man.
Yeah. I, like, when I watched it through, like, my most recent time, I caught it.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Because I saw the snowman, and I saw the other one.
Right. And then, like, you know, so he opens the 23rd, there's a snowman inside it. And then it's him looking out the window, like, Max is actually looking out the window of the house now, and there's a big-ass creepy snowman with a weird smile on.
He's so creepy.
He is very, very, very creepy. I do not like him.
So then the mailman is, like, delivering, I don't know, gifts and maybe some other packages, whatever, to the door.
Right.
And they are talking about how there's this bag of gifts on the porch that the mailman was like, oh, it must have been the UPS guys.
Yeah.
I didn't leave that.
Must have been the boys in brown.
The boys in brown, yeah, because they couldn't actually say UPS.
We all know what's up.
We all knew what they meant. And then Beth is like, Derek's her boyfriend. She's like, Derek hasn't responded to me, and I'm just really worried, and he lives, you know, like 4 blocks away, so is it okay if I go and check up on him? And I cannot imagine a lifetime where my parents would have let me go out in that snow to walk to my boyfriend's house alone.
Right? Like, what the hell?
So they're like, yeah, you have 1 hour, go, and then
come back.
Set forth out into Hoff, and then walk back.
We're sure you'll be fine.
My dad just texted me and was like, oh, hell no. I was watching that last night and I was like, there's no fucking way that my parents would have let me.
Like, who does that?
Like, they're hard pressed to let me go, like, outside when it's that cold.
Mood.
Mind you, I'm 24. I can't imagine, like, being this age and my parents being like, yeah, go walk in the snow and, fuck off.
Yeah, go to your boyfriend's house in the snow.
Alone. Hope you survive. So she's walking around and she sees Krampus, we can assume. She sees a figure jumping from rooftop to rooftop.
Making terrible jingly noises.
Awful jingly noises. And then she, like, comes across the truck and she's banging on the window for help. And then she wipes the window off and sees that the same delivery guy was frozen to death in his car. And then she hides under the truck. And this figure comes by and she sees, like, hooves and chains. And then it disappears. But then behind her, there's a music box softly playing Silent Night. And it opens and this, like, creepy clown thing comes out of it. And then she just starts screaming.
Mm-hmm.
And I would like to say that Christmas music in this context is so fucking creepy that I can't handle it.
Well, the same could be said for, like, children's music.
Children's music is always creepy. Christmas music...
It's always creepy.
Christmas music is okay, but, like, Silent Night in a horror movie, and there are all of these, like, little cues in the score that mimic, like, Carol of the Bells and Silent Night, and it is terrifying.
I love it.
So we're back in Max's house, and everyone's like, wow, it's a ghost town. Like, there are no cars or anything out there. And it's super late. It's been well past an hour, and Beth's still not home, and they can't get a hold of her.
Yeah.
So Tommy and Howard decide to go off into the snow and try to find Beth, and Omi really doesn't want them to go out there.
Right.
But they go anyway.
Yeah, for context, I don't know if you mentioned, but Omi is Tom's mom.
Tom's mom. Yeah, no, I didn't mention that.
Yeah. Like, Linda is Sarah's sister. Aunt Dorothy is their aunt together, and then...
Howard is Linda's husband.
Yeah. Omi is Tom's mother.
Yes, and Max is... Well, Max and Beth's grandma. Beth is Max's sister.
But yeah, so Omi very much does not want her son to go out.
Can't imagine why.
Huh.
One parent in this house is responsible.
He goes out anyway. Tom and Howard get into Howard's truck, and it is huge, and it is...
Named Lucinda.
Yeah, named Lucinda. What did he say? Pointer...
Oh, pointer due west or whatever. I don't remember.
Yeah, whatever it was. And he
She'll be storming Normandy.
The beaches of Normandy. And I'm like, all right.
Settle down.
You and Lucinda clearly have some special things to discuss. But anyway.
Bond between a man and his Hummer.
Man and his Hummer. So they go out into the snow and they come across a big snowplow that is stopped with its lights on still, like doing the yellow wee-woo.
And the keys are still in the ignition.
Yep. And they think originally that it must have, like, crashed or something, and then the guy got thrown outward. But then Tom notices that it's the glass is actually punched inward. Mm-hmm. So something clearly reached in through the glass and got whoever was driving. So that's lots of fun.
Not horrifying at all.
No, not at all. And then, do they at that point go back into the truck and get the guns, which he just has in his car?
Yeah, they grab the guns and then they go into Derek's house.
Oh man,
just bringing guns to Christmas.
Yeah, exactly. Just like casually.
That's how we do it.
And he's like, shepherd's gotta protect his flock.
Yeah, a shepherd has to protect his flock.
That's his
They say it like 4 times.
Amazing.
So the two of them go into Derek's house and they're looking around and it's freezing in there and the power is out in the whole neighborhood. I don't think we said that. So the power's out.
I think I did mention it.
Maybe you did.
Yeah.
But the power's out. It looks like the place has been like ransacked. Like all the pictures are on the ground. There's just a ton of stuff everywhere. And there's a gingerbread man with a very shocked looking face, pinned to the refrigerator with a knife.
Me.
And they see that the fireplace is broken and that there are like goat prints in the snow. Mm-hmm. And Howard comments that he's hunted a lot of game and he's like, whatever that is, its hooves are huge.
Yeah.
And then they hear Beth screaming in the distance, which they conveniently like don't bring up again after this.
Yeah.
Like they're not like, oh, we heard Beth.
Right.
We just left her there. So they walk outside, they're trying to get Beth, and then the snow, like, gets a hold of Howard and, like, sucks him into... It's like quicksand, but snow.
Yeah.
Quick snow. And he says, quick snow. He says something's biting him.
It's me.
And then Tommy takes his revolver and shoots at it 3 times and then, like, pulls him out of the snow. And then they find that the Hummer was torn up and is on fire.
Poor Lucinda.
Rest
in pieces.
She didn't even last, like, a whole day in that
She never
movie.
even made it to Normandy.
She's in the beaches of Normandy in heaven now.
Oh my god. How do we know she went to heaven?
Technically, probably not, because Krampus killed her, so...
True. You do have a point.
Poor Lucinda.
Poor Lucinda.
She never had a chance.
Rest in pieces.
I would like to add that this monster, it's like a snake-like thing, like, under the snow. We never actually see it. It just kind of tunnels under the snow. They named it Dash.
Why?
I don't know. That's just what it's named.
Stupid. Is it Dash from The Incredibles?
I guess.
Could
be. So they get back into the house and they're treating Howard's flesh wound.
Yeah, doesn't he say it's like, I think it was a bear?
He's trying to soften things for the kids because he doesn't want to scare them too bad. Although he walks into the house and he's like, get guns and knives and blah blah blah. So to then go back and be like, oh, nothing happened. I probably stepped in a bear trap. There are no bears around here though.
What a mood.
So, his leg's in pretty rough shape, and Omi is like, we need to keep the fire hot.
Right. She's like, that is the most important thing.
Yes, she stresses that. That's very important. And they're like, it's so cold out that we almost got frostbite, and we were out there for 4 minutes or less. Also, there are more snowmen outside, and they are getting creepier and also closer to the house.
Yeah, and now the big one that we saw earlier was frowning. At the beginning, when we first saw him, he had this creepy, terrible smile, and now he has an even worse, terrible frown.
Okay, but that was me going into this versus me in the middle.
What a mood!
My exact mood shift. And this is where they mention that, because Max says Omi's been weird ever since the storm, and Tommy is like, Omi always gets a little weird around Christmas, but she won't talk about why.
Yeah.
But she will. So then Howard's like, alright, I'm gonna keep watch while everybody sleeps.
Yeah,
Famous last words, because then he falls asleep.
Yeah, Shepard's gotta keep watch over his flock or whatever the fuck.
Until I pass out. And then you're on your own.
Exactly. Now you're up fucking Schitt's Creek without a paddle.
So everybody's sleeping, and then there's, movement and noise coming from the chimney. A chain with a hook drops into the chimney, and it lowers this gingerbread man into the fireplace. And Howie wakes up and grabs the gingerbread man and bites his face.
I mean, what else do you do when a chimney offers you a free gingerbread man?
On a chain with a hook.
Is this what fish go through?
Oh.
Delicious.
Fishing for little boys.
Ew.
The Krampus tail.
Oh my god. I'm dead.
So this gingerbread man then comes to life and starts
screams.
throwing the chain around him. Yeah, and screams and is wrapping the chain all around him, and then they pull him up into the chimney. So then Sarah is grabbing him and is trying to pull him down, and they're all trying to pull her down because she is a pretty small person, so she's not going to be able to they're just going to take them both up.
Yeah, it's very touch and go. And then I think the log gets kicked out of the fire. It has some embers on it, so it sets the whole tree on fire.
Oh yeah, that was the other thing, is the fire went out. Not went completely out, but it started to dull overnight.
Yeah, till it was basically just some coals at the bottom, and a log that has some cinder on it.
But yeah, it gets kicked out and sets the whole tree on fire and all of the presents.
Merry Christmas.
It's beginning to look a lot like fuck this.
My mood.
My whole mood watching this. And all of this, didn't even amount to anything because they still ended up taking Howie up through the chimney.
Yeah, Max gets the fire extinguisher to put the tree out, I think.
Yeah, they do put the tree out.
They do put the tree out. Howie's gone forever. Rest in peace. That's what you get for eating gingerbread men.
Strange gingerbread men from your chimney attached to a chain.
The tastiest treat. A snack that smiles back. Strange gingerbread men. Oh, man.
Omi lights the fire again real fast. That thing just goes up in flames. And then she's like, this is all of our fault, and he's come for us. She starts telling her sad story. Finally, the Christmas tale that she didn't want to talk about.
Yeah. I also really liked the animation that they used for Omi's story.
Yeah, so it's she's telling the story, but they're doing a flashback while she's telling it. But her little flashback is all animated, and it looks like stop motion animation.
Mm-hmm.
And I really like the style. It was a nice little, it's a sad story, but it softens the blow a little bit.
Right, it's a nice breakaway, I think, and I want to say it almost reminded me a little bit of the animation from Harry Potter with the three brothers.
Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah, similar, but still its own thing.
Because they made use of the shadows and stuff.
Yeah, which I liked a lot. It's got a lot of sepia tones too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so she's telling the story about when she was little. Oh, and she only speaks German. I don't think we've said that.
She doesn't actually. She speaks English for this story.
She speaks English for the story, but like throughout the movie, she
chooses
mostly
to speak
speaks German.
Yeah. Which, like, Tommy speaks German, so he understands her and responds in English, and Max also understands her and responds in English.
So she's telling the story about, when she was younger around Christmas time, and she was saying that it was a darker and less cheerful Christmas, and we can assume it's probably during a depression.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's a van that's, like, handing out bread, and she was the last person in her village to get a piece of bread, and all of these people, like, stole it from her, and they started fighting. But she goes home to her family, and they're also fighting, and they, like, rip her Santa Claus toy.
Yeah.
And she's just talking about how, like, she used to believe in Santa and, like, wish for miracles, and that she just stopped believing in Santa, and she stopped wishing for miracles, and she just wanted everything to be different.
Sort of like Max.
Interesting. So she says that Krampus is the shadow of St. Nicholas, and that he doesn't give, but he takes, and he doesn't reward, but he punishes. And she says that he went through and he, like, took everyone in her family to the underworld and her village, and that he left her behind as a reminder of what happens when the Christmas spirit dies. Which I find interesting because it was important to Michael Dougherty, I think I was saying this earlier, that he kept on with the tradition of the changing mythos by making this more Americanized. And so he changed Krampus to fit, like, our American version of it.
Right.
But so Krampus, like, punishes kids for being naughty around Christmas time, and this version of Krampus is punishing people for, like, not upholding the true spirit of Christmas. Or, like, when they stop believing in Christmas, or what have you. And Howard, being Howard, is like, that is a crock of shit, and I'm gonna go outside and look for my son. So he opens the door, and he finds a new snowman who is dressed in Howie's clothing. And they all freak out, and then they go back into the house.
I mean, wouldn't you?
And that's when, I don't remember if it's right then, it's either shortly before or shortly after, but the advent calendar opens, and now it's Christmas Eve.
I guess so, because
it's in the nighttime.
It's in the nighttime, and, like, I'm sure a day must have passed or something.
Yeah. I know at some point around here they open up the advent calendar.
Yeah.
And it's a teddy bear. Haha. Anybody who's seen Krampus is nervously chuckling right now. So it's Christmas Eve. Linda is upstairs trying to rewrap the presents for the kids because she's, like, still trying to salvage Christmas. And Tommy has an idea for what to do. So they all get together. It's Sarah, Tommy, Linda, and Howard. And Tommy is like, I want to go and get that snowplow because the keys were still in the ignition. Bring it back to the house and then have everyone get into our car and you guys can drive behind me while I clear a path. And they're trying to get to the mall, which they said also doubles as, like, a shelter.
Yeah.
And then that they would try to find help and send help back for Beth and Howie. Meanwhile, Aunt Dorothy is supposed to be watching the kids.
Great choice.
And she's hilarious, by the way. She
is very funny.
Oh my god, she was, like, the best part of this movie, I think. And so she's supposed to be watching the kids, but apparently she clogged the toilet, and so Jordan and Stevie go upstairs alone together, because they've all been together downstairs.
This whole time.
Like, the living room, yeah, by the fireplace. So Jordan and Stevie go upstairs alone together, and then follow a voice up to the attic, because they're like, Beth, is that you? It sounds nothing like Beth, so I don't know why they went up there. But they go up into the attic, and then everyone downstairs hears a bunch of screaming and clamoring and all that fun horror movie attic noise. So then Linda, Tommy, and Sarah all go upstairs to see, like, what the hell's going on, and find that all of the presents were opened. And then they see the big clown Jack-in-the-Box.
I forgot to warn you about him.
I hate you for that.
I felt so bad. I forgot.
I was watching that last night and I was like, no. Because at first, like I said earlier, there's like a clown thing that comes out of the little music box, but I didn't catch that it was, like, basically this clown. Like, I didn't catch that it was a clown at first. It just looked like a thing. I couldn't tell what it was. So I wasn't expecting clowns to be in this Christmas movie. Lucky me.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. And of course he's got this awful mouth that, like, is opened up. Like, almost like Pennywise in It, but better. Like, if they really took the time and made Pennywise from It, like, all practical.
Right.
and did it like this, it could have been so cool. So this thing, I hate it because it's terrifying and like really real looking, but it's eating one of the girls. I think it's eating Jordan.
I think so, yeah.
I'm all set with that whole scene. It's horrifying.
I forgot to warn you. I'm sorry.
I just can't with you.
I'm sorry.
So Tommy shoots at it.
Hooray.
What else are you gonna do?
Yeah, you know, as you do.
Meanwhile, downstairs, gingerbread men are shooting at Howard with a nail gun. And he shoots at them with a gun. And they come after him. And then Rosie eats one.
I love Rosie.
I love Rosie so much. And then, like, back to the attic. Because it doesn't stop at the clown. Now there's an angel demon thing. And a bear demon thing. And, like, a robot toy wind-up demon.
Me.
And they're all attacking Tommy and Sarah and Linda. But they manage to, like, fight them off and escape.
Right.
They try to catch the clown one, and then the clown, like, gets into the vents. So they all convene back downstairs together. At some point, Max opens up the vent and lets Rosie into the vent because she's, like, barking at it because she can tell there's stuff in there. And he's like, all right, go get her, Rosie. Or go get them, Rosie. And they come out, so it's like the bear and the angel demon are back, and the clown thing, and... Oh, by the way, Stevie's still alive. They, like, found Stevie's body, so Stevie's still alive. But now Jordan and Howie and Beth are all gone. So then Aunt Dorothy starts shooting at the demons that have come out of the wall.
As you do.
And then she gets dragged out of the house. I don't remember how the house opens up. I don't remember if somebody opened the door or if it, like, breaks.
Isn't that when the elves come?
I just don't remember how that happens. I know that at some point the wall, like, opens up and Aunt Dorothy gets taken out of it. Because she's like, I'll see you in hell. You tell them who sang you.
Okay, yeah, no, the elves are the ones I think that bust open the window, it looks like.
Are you watching it right now?
I do. I have it on silent. I'm just going through, like, some of the scenes. Yeah. After Aunt Dorothy shoots the bear in the face.
Excellent.
You hear noise, and they all turn around, and it zooms in on Omi's face, and then she says, elves, and then, like, they burst open the window, and, like, that whole wall by where the tree had been, and then, like, Aunt Dorothy turns around and is like, ah, shit, and then they, like, suck her into oblivion, and she's just fucking gone.
Well, they say elves. Omi says elves, but they're like things in masks.
Yeah,
like,
terrible, evil, like, awful things. And now it's all completely dark. Like, the fire is, like, completely out. Like, it's all, like, in shades of blue and, like...
You know, like terrible. That horror movie teal color.
Exactly, yeah. They should trademark that.
True.
Horror movie teal.
I'm trademarking it right now.
Is that why teal's your favorite color?
I was just thinking that. I'm like, oh, we've solved it. This whole podcast is over.
Everybody go home.
What we really came here to do. We did
it. Success.
Oh, so then we hear things on the roof. Because the elves hear something and then they all leave.
Yeah.
And Howard ends up going with one of them because he's like, no, I need to find my kids. Because now they have the baby, too.
Right, yeah, they take the baby with them.
Oh, and they don't show it, but Rosie dies, we can assume.
Yeah.
Thank God they don't show it, because this is like the perfect storm of shit for me, is when they have a baby and a dog, because I'm always like, where is the baby? And if they hurt that dog...
I'm gonna light myself on fire.
That's pretty much it. Yeah. Protect the dog at all costs. And then they're like, okay, we have to go to the snowplow now, we have like no other option.
Yeah.
And Omi can't even light a match because it's so cold.
Yeah.
And she's, like, visibly really upset that she can't, like, get the fire going again.
Yep.
So they all leave, except for Omi, who just says, be good, and then she closes the door.
Well, first all the lights are freaking out. And the song, I guess, is singing. I think it's from the wreath. It must be, like, automatic or something, but it's, like, up on the rooftop.
I know,
dig,
yeah.
Dig, dig. But yeah, and then I think they leave or something. Because they're like, it's him. He's here.
So they leave, and then Omi stays behind, and Tommy's really upset because that's his mom.
Right.
And he doesn't want her to be alone in the house, but Max is like, no, she wants to face him, so we have to let her do that. She wants to help. This is how she's helping.
Right.
So finally, the big reveal. This is when we actually see Krampus, and he's super creepy.
I love him.
And not what I was expecting. I was expecting more of, like, a goat-like thing.
Instead of like a weird Santa looking thing.
Yeah, he's like a distorted. I wrote like demented Santa. Like he's like distorted.
Yeah, like his face is all like dragged out weird, like his mouth especially is super weird.
Yeah, it's like permanently open and like his eyes are sunken in.
Yeah.
And he has these really long fingers and claws.
He's like the Babadook, but make it Christmas.
But make it Christmas. Yeah, exactly. I ship it.
Make it Christmas.
So he has his meeting with Omi and then she dies.
Yeah.
We, again, can assume.
We never showed any kind of body or anything. It's just... No. Yeah.
But we aren't with, like, Howie or anything either, so...
Right, yeah.
We can assume.
And
then Linda gets picked off after that. She's the next to go.
Yeah.
So then Tommy... They're, like, right near the snowplow, and Tommy basically sacrifices himself to stall Dash, who is that snow thing.
Yeah.
So that Sarah can get Max and Stevie to the snowplow. And it gets him, and then it also gets Sarah, so it's just Max and Stevie. And they can't start the snowplow, and they can't even drive it if they could, because it's manual.
Right.
Which, like, if I had to drive stick to get out of a situation, I would be screwed.
That's a mood.
So, he's like, we have a hybrid, I can't drive a stick. And I'm like, dude, same. Actually me. Then they get Stevie at some point, so Max is the only one left.
Yeah.
And I was texting you about this last night, because I was like, okay, I have a prediction about this. Because his grandma was like, they left me as a reminder that, like, the Christmas spirit needs to stay alive. Mm-hmm. And so I'm like, oh, okay, Max is going to be the only person left.
That they leave, yeah.
So that they can keep the Christmas spirit alive. So at this point, I'm like, okay, so he's the only one left. And then I was like, wait, but it's not that easy. So then I texted you and I was like, okay, new prediction. Mm-hmm. Somehow he's going to make it right and they're going to wake up on Christmas and it's going to be like nothing ever happened. So, Max is the only one left. Krampus drops the bell at his feet, and it's the same bell that he left Omi. Mm-hmm. And it's wrapped in the bits of the letter that he ripped up and got sucked into the clouds.
Yeah, and it, like, has a Krampus, like, engraved on it.
Mm-hmm. And, so then Max finds all the henchmen, like, torturing Stevie, and he apologizes. He doesn't apologize yet. He finds them all with Stevie, and he says that he wants to take it all back. Like, he wants his wish taken back. He just wants Christmas to be the way it was. Mm-hmm. And then the hell pit opens up.
Ha! Merry Christmas. So yeah, he interrupts them torturing everybody and all that, and Krampus picks him up, and he's like, wait, I just wanted Christmas to be what it was. I want to take it back, blah, blah, blah. The hell pit is wide open. It is burning in orange. Wonderful.
It is wide open.
Just like Krampus's mouth.
Ooh. Talk about that, Freud.
I know, right? The gaping maw. Anyway.
Boba Fett, are you in there?
Oh my god. Leave.
I can't.
Anyway, Krampus ends up not giving a shit and just drops Max into the fire hell pit. He's falling. He's screaming. He's going into the fires of Mount Doom.
Oh yeah, and you almost think that he accepts his apology.
Right, like they give you a second and they're like, all right, and then he's just like, bye.
Bye, and then tosses him into Mordor.
Amazing. And then the screen is all like, I want to say it's like white, and then like it's Max's room, and it's daylight, and nothing is like a mess. It's all nice. He's in his bed.
The storm is over.
Yeah, he wakes up. He's looking around.
He falls out of bed.
He does fall out of bed, which, same. Big mood.
And I was like...
to the window, he looks outside. Mm-hmm. Everything's fine. There's no weird, creepy snowmen. The lights are all on. There's cars on the street, like...
Meanwhile, I'm like, what did I say? I knew he was going to wake up and it was going to be Christmas. And then I was like, it still can't be this easy, though.
He goes downstairs. Oh, wait, first...
He opens the advent calendar.
Yeah, he opens the advent calendar for the 25th for Christmas Day. And it's Santa. Mm-hmm. Delivering some toys. As he does.
How kind of him.
How joyful. He goes downstairs because he hears people talking, and it's his whole family. Yay! It's all
and everyone's nice.
It's all pretty. The fire's on. The tree is lit and nice. Linda's holding Chrissy. Like... The lighting here is wonderful. It's like, it's how you would imagine a Christmas morning. It's very
It's like, a very, like, Hallmark, like, perfect Christmas movie morning.
Exactly. Dorothy is hungover as shit, but fixing it with more eggnog.
She's like, I haven't been this hungover since the Pope died.
Me. Relatable content. But then they all sit down and they're opening gifts and stuff, and they all, well, first, Omi's handing out hot chocolate. She says, Merry Christmas to Max. Mm-hmm. It's all great. Everybody's drinking hot chocolate. It's so nice, wonderful, warm. And then they start to hand out the gifts. Seems great. Everybody's starting to open them.
Sarah opens the taxidermied, like, possum? Like, what is that?
What was that about?
I don't know. And he's like, we had to reattach its foot.
Me. I don't even know what it is. It just looks so weird.
I couldn't tell what it was either.
It almost looks like a wombat.
Oh, it does kind of look like a wombat.
A weird wombat. How did they get a wombat?
I don't know.
I have so many questions. So they hand a gift to Max. He's talking his family first. He's going to open his gift, and he opens it up, and it's the Krampus spell.
Dun, dun, dun. Dun.
And you start to hear, like, whispers of, like, what went on. So it's like some of the things that each character said.
Yeah, it's like,
is like coming back to them.
Mm-hmm. They're like, oh, he doesn't, like, give, he takes.
Yeah, and them screaming for each other and stuff and like that. And, you know, I just wanted Christmas to be like it used to. And, you know, that's what a family is. Like, all the things that have happened in this time span is, like, suddenly coming back to them all. And they're all really quiet and looking around.
Mm-hmm. And then it zooms out, and you see the house, but it's in a snow globe. Which is in a collection of, like, hundreds of snow globes in Krampus's little lair, which looks more like a cottage. Like, what is he living in?
I mean, I would live in a cottage with a house full of just snow globes. Why not?
With, like, each person's individual hell inside of it?
I mean, it looked like a pretty nice hell.
I guess. Okay, I was confused about that, but we'll talk about that later.
Yeah. But yeah, and that's basically how it ends, isn't it? Like, that's, I think, the end. Like, he's placing it, like, at the end, and then it's, like, him walking away through his house, I want to say.
And then they pan all the way out, and then the last thing you see is all the, like, creatures jumping out at you.
Yeah, that's true. I forgot about that.
So tacky. Like, I'm
I love
it.
They
they had me. I was like, fuck yeah, I'm into it. Like, this is one of the best horror movies I've seen in a long time. And then that happened at the end, and I was like, come on.
I love it.
They were this close.
It's so good. You know what? You can just skip over that part. I love it.
I will. They should cut it out.
It's important. No! I love it.
All in all,
fantastic movie. I highly recommend.
I really loved this movie.
It's so fun.
And I watched it again, and it, like, I don't know, it didn't make it worse to me that I already knew it was going to happen.
Yeah.
I think partially because, like, my dad was there, and he laughed at the parts that I laughed at, so I was like, okay, so, like, this is actually a good movie. It's not just me being, like, weird. I want to talk about the production of it a little bit.
Yeah. Go for it.
Dude, the practical effects in this, amazing.
My favorite thing. I feel like that's a lot of why I do like this. Like,
I think so too.
Without even thinking about it, because it's not, you know, the whole movie isn't, you know, effects, but a lot of the effects are practical, and I do enjoy that deeply. Like, my favorite movies all involve puppets and practical things like that. Like, obviously, I'm a big sucker for Jim Henson movies, and just the amount of puppetry that goes on and, like, practical things that are used in making those, it just hits my heart in such a way.
Right, and these were all, like, puppets and costumes and animatronics. Like, the things that weren't were Dash.
Yeah.
Who was, like, crawling under the snow, but we never see it anyway.
Right.
The gingerbread men. Mm-hmm. And then the silhouette of Krampus jumping from house to house, because they couldn't do that.
Right.
With a tangible thing. So they had to do it CG.
Mm-hmm.
But Michael Dougherty agreed to it because he was like, we can put snow and stuff in the way, so it's not going to be super obvious that, like, it's not actually there.
Right.
But in an interview, he was like, I love practical effects, and Trick or Treat, that was mostly practical effects too. And he basically is saying, like, you should get as much as you can in camera, and then you use computers when necessary. So basically just to, like, erase little wires and things here and there.
Right.
This is, like, my ideal effects system for a horror movie.
Same.
Because people rely so heavily on CG now, and it never looks real. Almost never. 9 out of 10 times I could pick out which thing was animated.
Right.
And it pulls you out of it most of the time because they like show it for too long, like they don't use it sparingly enough.
Yeah.
He also took a page from Ridley Scott's horror notebook from Alien, so he didn't let any of the actors see the monsters as they were being made.
I did not know that. That's fantastic.
Which is like Ridley Scott and Alien, the chestburster scene,
Right.
none of them knew that was going to happen.
Right.
And so all of their reactions are genuine. Well, when they saw the clown, the Jack-in-the-Box, none of them knew that that's what that was going to look like. And so when Adam Scott is like, oh, come on, and they all start like screaming, that's actually like their genuine reactions to that thing because they had never seen.
That's your reaction to it.
It really was. I was like, are you fucking kidding me with this clown right now?
Oh, come on. Ashleigh, whenever there's a clown.
Oh, I hate clowns so much.
I know you do. I'm so sorry I forgot to remind you.
The downside to things being practical is that the things that aren't practical, like the gingerbread men, because sometimes the gingerbread men are tangible, like stuffed animal gingerbread men. And then sometimes they are CG, and like he wanted to make it look almost like those old Rudolph cartoons, like the old stop motion Rudolph cartoons.
Mm-hmm.
Which is why they have that texture, and like they're not necessarily supposed to look real.
Right.
But I wish that they had made like one of the stuffed gingerbread men and put like an armature wire in it so that they could move it and actually like maybe just animate the face or something.
Right.
I think that would have worked a lot more for me than the CG because again, like it just takes me out of it because I just noticed that it's not actually part of the world that they're in.
Right. It's a disconnect.
In the grand scheme of things, it's still such a minor, like, little complaint in an otherwise really good movie.
Right.
The people who did the effects, it's WETA Workshop. So they're the same people who did Lord of the Rings and the Hobbit trilogy.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, and they worked on, like, Hellboy, 30 Days of Night.
Aw.
They've done some, like, other horror movies recently, but it was, like, The Meg. Like, it wasn't anything, like...
Right.
That I would have been interested in. But yeah, they've worked on a lot of stuff. So the effects definitely are there. Even Krampus, because the face is like a puppet thing. Like that whole thing is like
right
a puppet that somebody had to control. And it looks amazing.
It looks fantastic. I love it.
The effects are so good.
I love his terrifying face.
I think, honestly, even if the plot wasn't that good, and like I said, the pacing for me was a little bit weird at times, but the effects are so good that I almost don't care.
Right.
Because it's a relief. Like, it's so refreshing to have something that's not just CG monsters everywhere. Like, there were, like, real people in masks.
That's what I loved about it. That's what I loved about the elves, and, like, it's
Very
just
about
so good.
Okay, my dad... So, we have a small house, for those of you who don't know, so my dad can hear me, like, talking. Also, my voice carries, so that's just how it goes. But he just texted me and said Leica could have pulled it off. The gingerbread men thing.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I totally agree with that. Like, yeah. I think if it was real stop motion or, like, people who are familiar enough with animating in a computer to look like stop motion.
Right.
Because most of the time, like, when you see stop motion movies now, it's all animated. It's not, like...
It's not actual, genuine stop motion
It's
anymore.
not true stop motion. Leica still does most of it that way.
Yeah.
But I think that could have been really cool.
I think they would have done a really good job with it.
But again, super nitpicky, like...
Yeah, exactly. They're in the movie for, like, only a couple of scenes, those gingerbread men, so it's like...
Yeah, and, like, they're comedic relief, basically.
Yeah,
so.
exactly. It is a horror comedy at the end of the day, and, like, they do have to throw in some things for you to laugh at.
Right, and I find that horror comedies don't work for me because they either are too scary and, like, don't have enough funny, or they're, like, too funny and there's no scary. But this had a good mix of things. Mm-hmm. Now what we're here for.
Death.
Ah. That's what Krampus
Surprise, you're all about to be taken by Krampus. Prepare yourselves.
Speaking of Krampus, this will be our segue into symbolism talk, because I have got a lot to talk about.
Hell yeah.
Whenever I get really into this stuff, like I did with this movie, because I I love the effects so much that I immediately was like, who did the effects? Like, I want to know more about the production. And I'm, like, watching all these interviews with Michael Dougherty and some of the actors and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Whenever I get really into things like this, I feel like I look like that meme of Charlie Day with the bulletin board behind him.
It's always sounding...
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he just looks insane, and he's, like, pointing at, like, all this stuff that's all connected with yarn. That's how I feel when I talk on this podcast.
That's a mood.
But Krampus.
Krampus, though. So important.
Krampus, though. So they got a professional creature designer for him, and they put a ton of work into his... I mean, he's huge.
He is massive.
Yeah. He's very large.
Big boy.
He's a big boy.
Adorable.
And we talked earlier about how he's got like a human-esque face.
Yeah. It's humanoid in nature.
Humanoid, yeah, but it's like just off enough that you're really unsettled by it.
Yeah, very uncanny valley.
Yeah, I was just gonna say it's got that like uncanny valley thing. So Michael Dougherty, like, they took a lot from the tradition of Santa and they like perverted it for Krampus.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, the real Krampus doesn't typically have helpers, as I said earlier, but Michael Dougherty was like, okay, we need to give him, like, elves.
Right.
And little toys and things that'll help him, like, conduct his Krampus ways.
Conduct his Krampus ways.
He's also wearing, like, a red cloak.
Yeah.
Which is hard to tell because the latter part of the movie is that, like, cross-processed, like, tealy color. But he's wearing, like, a dark red cloak, and, like, it has, like, white fur around it. Or it looks like it was white fur at some point, and it's just, like,
dingy.
Dirty. Yeah. So they, like, wanted him to look ancient, which he does.
I wonder why Omi wasn't like, hey, it's up. Remember me? I seen you again. Like, why didn't they catch up?
See you in hell. Something tells me Krampus doesn't talk much.
Really? Yeah? Do you think it was that his jaw was, like, wired open like that? Oh.
He's a man of few words.
Maybe he's just always shocked at how little people care about Christmas.
Well, that was the other thing that Michael Dougherty was talking about, because, like I said, I was surprised that that's how they made Krampus look, because that's not what he looks like in any of, like, the greeting cards of him.
Right.
And he was like, so we reveal a face, but that doesn't mean it's his face. That could be a mask. We don't know.
Who's to say?
And he said he was saving that for a sequel, and I think they did make a sequel to this.
I think they did.
He wasn't involved in it, which is really sad.
Yeah, then why would I want to watch it?
I don't know. I have a feeling it's not going to be as good, because I don't think, like, any other director would have cared that much about, like, how the effects look, which is kind of sad.
Right.
But anyway.
Yeah, I also get that vibe.
Oh, so like I said earlier, he's, like, half goat and half demon, basically.
Demon Santa.
Demon goat Santa.
Clip clop.
But goats usually symbolize, like, abundance.
Oh.
And, so male goats symbolize, like, virility and abundance and reproduction. But they can also symbolize materialism and, like, looking at things through the lens of money and gain.
Interesting.
And he, in this, has goat hooves and actually goat pupils.
I did see that. Yeah, I forgot to make note of that.
Yeah, goats have, like, those, like, rectangular pupils.
Yeah, a lot of grazing animals.
And they don't show his eyes very clearly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they show that
Spooky.
one scene where they get, like, really close, and you can see that he's got, like, goat eyes. So, just from the, like, half goat thing, like...
all the better to see you
he's
with.
kind of symbolizing... His character design, in a lot of ways, like, symbolizes the things he's trying to stop people from doing. Because the goat is, like... you know, you're looking at things through, like, a material lens, through the lens of, like, money and, like, constantly needing more. But he's also based on, like, the horned god, in pagan for some of it, but there are other, like, horned gods that they're all kind of stemmed from, like, the same thing. So there's, like, Cernunnos, Pan, and Dionysus, and he's the ancient god of the flock and the hunt.
Right.
And they keep saying, like, a shepherd has to protect his flock.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
But it also has to do with, like, hunting and, like, taking in more and more things.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So he's also got the, like, long tongue and these long stretched out fingers. His mouth is always open. Like, all of these things are how he's, like, he's punishing people who are, like, reaching for more and, like, wanting more material items, and they're just, like, losing what Christmas is all about.
Mm-hmm.
And Omi even says, like, they lose sight of the sacrifice of giving.
Mm-hmm.
So they just want, like, more for themselves. It's not about, like, giving people things and, like, just being around family anymore. And that's what this version of Krampus is, like, punishing people for.
Right.
He's also wearing chains.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So this is where we come back to Christmas Carol being important.
Mm-hmm.
Because the chains could be two things. Because the chains could be symbolic of, like, the binding of the devil, which would be more closely rooted in, like, Christian ties. But in this case, it also harkens back to Marley from A Christmas Carol.
Mm-hmm.
And for people, I don't know how many people listening to this aren't familiar with that, but A Christmas Carol is about this man named Ebenezer Scrooge. Mm-hmm. And he's really greedy, and he's constantly wanting more, and he's only concerned with, like, wealth and material possessions. And his old business partner visits him one night and is like, you have to stop this or you're going to end up like me and you're going to be miserable and, like, your life isn't going to be worth anything. And in order to prove that to you, I'm going to send you 3 ghosts. So it's the ghost of Christmas past, present, and future.
Mm-hmm.
But Marley, when he shows up, he's wearing chains, and the chains are, like, super heavy, and they're covered in, like, cash boxes and keys and padlocks and purses and stuff. And he says, like, I'm wearing the chain that I forged in my life.
Right.
And Krampus is representative of the, like, the hell that you're building for yourself because you're losing sight of, like, what Christmas is all about.
Mm-hmm.
So I just took a lot of note of, like, how Krampus looked and, like, what his character design might be symbolizing.
I do think that's interesting about the chains. I didn't even notice that because I know that Krampus does typically have chains in a lot of depictions, like, anyway, so I didn't even think of that. That's crazy.
So the chains thing, yeah, that was, like, one of the things that they put in that is more of a traditional, like, greeting card thing.
Right.
But because of how much Michael Dougherty talked about A Christmas Carol in his interviews, I was like, okay, so there's got to be some more about, like, Christmas Carol that kind of, like, pops up in this, because after the opening where they're, like, in the store, they cut and they're watching A Christmas Carol in Max's house.
Right. And it's at that specific point, too, like, in that movie, where he is talking about, like, the ghost, and, like, it's right, like, after he was talking about the chain that he forged in life and all that, and
yeah,
how there's still time to fix it, you know, like, the first one will visit at 1:00 or whatever it is, and it's like, you know, there's time to change things at that point still, and there was time in the movie to change things at that point.
Yeah, exactly. If only they'd listened.
If only.
The other thing I kind of took note of, and this is probably not on purpose, but like I said earlier, they, like, took all of these, like, Santa things and they, like, twisted them to fit Krampus. And so, like, the angel is, like, the tree topper, and then they have, like, the teddy bear and all the gingerbread men, so it's, like, the food and the toys are all twisted and stuff to help Krampus out. But Howard is also like, what unholy thing is that about Krampus? And, like, Santa is Saint Nicholas. Right. So that means that Saint Nick is holy, so obviously Krampus would be, like, the unholy foil.
Thing.
Right. But he also gives people bells, and it made me think of Polar Express, because he picks up the bell and he doesn't believe in Santa, so he can't hear it.
Right.
But in this, they, like, lost their belief in Santa, so they can hear the bell.
Right.
Because Krampus only drops his bell off to people who have, like, stopped believing.
Mm-hmm. I was just going to say that it's interesting that they did involve that evil angel thing, because earlier in the movie, it's revealed that Sarah has her mother's tree angel, and Linda didn't know that, and they used to fight over who got to place her and stuff, and it was, like, a big deal. And they, like, spend a little while talking about that, and how it's, like, what mom would have wanted or some shit like that.
Yeah, and how Sarah's, like, sentimental and, like, has a lot of old ornaments that they used to have on their tree.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's a couple of points of, like, foreshadowing in this.
I love it.
During the Mucho Mart thing, they show, like, a teddy bear. And they're making all the cookies at the beginning. Like, lots of little
Especially
things.
The gingerbread man.
Yeah, the gingerbread man. Lots of little things that are, like, guiding you there, but they're not taking you all the way there. This is, like, the perfect successor to Horns, which we talked about last week. Because Horns, I felt like there was no subtlety at all, and like you didn't have to look for anything because it was all right in your face. And this is full of like really subtle little things that you'd have to like, I mean, you have to be watching it to pay attention because you're gonna miss like something small.
Right.
But like things on the radio and things on the TV and like just all of these little like pieces here and there that are kind of like guiding you into the right direction.
Right.
This was something that I had like a lot of fun looking into because I could look into it. So it wasn't all like, boom, here it is. Is Krampus not trying to protect us from ourselves? Like, is Krampus not just an anti-hero?
True.
It's that same kind of thing where, like, Santa and Krampus are on the same side.
Right.
They're just fighting, like, the battle different ways.
Yeah. It's like divide and conquer.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, there's only so much coal, and it's not very efficient, like, environmentally anyway, so Santa can't give that out anymore.
Yeah.
So we're gonna snatch them kids up.
Just gonna take them away.
Take them away.
Gonna skip the branches and the butt whooping. We're just gonna take you away.
Exactly.
Turn you into a snow globe.
Ye old snow globe.
Ye old snow globey.
Oh, the other, like, subtle thing that shows up in here is numbers. You just mentioned with the Christmas Carol. He says, Marley is saying to Ebenezer Scrooge, expect the first ghost when the bell tolls at 1. And then right before we see the first of the helpers in the house, they zoom in on the iPad and the battery percentage is 1%. Which I didn't catch last night when I watched it for the first time, but I caught it today when I was watching it, and I was like, because I was looking for a clock yesterday that would say 1, because I figured, like, that was foreshadowing somehow.
Right.
And it just wasn't the clock. But I liked that it wasn't the clock, because that would have been like, oh yeah, they just said that earlier.
Right.
But this was, like, functionally the same thing.
Yeah.
That's not a number that shows up a lot. That was just, like, something that I noticed. But the number 3 shows up a lot.
A lot.
Yeah. So the times that Tommy shoots a gun, he shoots it 3 times every time he shoots it.
Yeah.
And he mentions that he has 3 bullets left.
Yep.
And then when Sarah shoots the same gun, she shoots it 3 times.
Yep.
Which my dad and I were like, that is a 6-bullet revolver. So either they fucked up or he reloaded at some point. Because he says he only has 3 bullets left. But in A Christmas Carol, like, there are the ghosts of Christmas past, present, and future.
Right.
And this is, like, a super subtle thing, and the only reason why I knew to look for it was because my mom is really into, like, Celtic stuff right now. But Krampus is wearing a gold ring with a Triskelion on it. Which is, like, a Celtic pagan motif that, it, like, consists of a triple spiral, and it has rotational symmetry.
Right.
But it means 3 legs, and it basically represents, like, it's like a tale of forward motion to reach understanding, which is, like, what this movie is about. And the 3 legs, like, it means different things depending on which region you're in and, like, who's telling you the story. But the ones that I saw that, like, were
relevant,
that jumped out to me the most were life, death, and rebirth. Mother, father, and child. Because at the end of the day, it's the mom, the dad, and then Max. They're the only ones, like, left from their original immediate family. And past, present, and future. So those are all, like...
Right.
Like, little pieces to the story.
That's cool. It is also interesting that you bring up 3, because, like, even earlier in the movie when Max is, like, upset that he has to spend this time with them, and he's, like, in his room, and Tom comes in to talk to him, he's like, they're only going to be here for 3 more days.
Yeah, I didn't even...
They're only here for 3 more days.
Right.
Yeah.
3 more days, and there's 3 gingerbread men chasing after Howard.
Yep.
And then there's 3... Minus the clown, because the clown doesn't actually attack any of them in the attic. There's 3, like, demons. Because we have, like, the robot thing, the angel, and the bear. So there's 3 of those, and then 3 of them go up to the attic.
Right.
So number 3 just keeps popping up. And I forgot to look up, like, if that had any meaning. Like, the number 3. I know it's a prime number.
Right.
It's, like, the same thing. It's, like, the number 3 is associated with Trinity.
Right. I also think it's interesting that there's, like, a robot upstairs, because at the end of the movie, when, like, Max comes downstairs, there's a big robot on his shirt. Ah.
Come full circle.
We've come full circle.
Did you notice that there's a rune, like, on the angel's face?
No, I missed that.
Yeah, there's a rune on the angel's face, and that same rune is on at least one of the masks of the elves. But I'm sure if I, like, paused it and looked, I could see more of it. Just that was the one that, like, popped out at me. But the rune that's there has 3 points at the top.
Oh, okay.
It's Aelhaz. It's the one that looks almost like a pitchfork.
Right, yeah.
But it, like, represents the divine might of the universe.
Mm-hmm.
But it's also, like, facing fear with courage, and that rune can also symbolize, like, a loss of your link to, like, the divine, and fear, like, because you've lost your faith in something, which is, like, what Max is going through, and it's what Omi went through, is that fear associated with the fact that you're losing your belief system that you've had your entire life, and then suddenly it just, like, goes away.
See, I didn't, like, looking at it, I would have thought it was, like, a psi symbol from, like, the Greek alphabet. Like, I know that's not, but, like, that's what I would have first thought of, I think.
I'm just looking it up so I can see what that looks like. Oh, I could see that.
Yeah.
Well, because...
Which is the 23rd letter of the Greek alphabet, which is funny to me.
Oh, yeah, because, like, the main day is the 23rd, so...
Yeah.
Well, because the psi symbol and the Aelhaz, they can write it different ways. It's like having different handwriting.
Right.
So there are some people who write the Aelhaz and it looks more, like, pointed.
Yeah.
But then there are some people who write it and it has, like, the curve.
Right.
But I assumed because of the, like, Michael Dougherty was talking about, like, paganism and how, like, that's important. So I would figure that it would be, like, I didn't even think of Greek alphabet, but I'm not that familiar with it, so.
Right, that's fair. Yeah, no, it just struck me as that because, like, I don't know. I guess it's just the first thing that came to my mind. Who knows? Well, I think, like, when I think of runes, I think of it being more angular typically, even though, like, you know, obviously anybody can write it however they want, but.
Yeah, I mean.
And it definitely makes more sense in this context for it to be that. I just don't know why I would have thought that.
The cool thing about that and about just, like, symbolism in general is, like, I don't know, you can find meaning in anything. Like, somebody might have looked at that and been like, that looks like a tree.
That's fair.
I don't know, you know?
True.
Because there are people who wouldn't have thought, like, that it looked like either of those things.
Right.
And there might be symbols that it looks more like that I just don't even know exist, you know?
Right, that's fair.
Because, like, the Triskelion thing, like, if it wasn't for the fact that my mom just showed me that symbol because she wants it tattooed, I would have had, like, no idea that that was something important.
Right.
I would have just been like, okay, he's got, like, a ring with swirls on it. But the thing about, like, big costume design like that is that they're not just putting things in there to look neat, usually.
Right.
Like, if they're really going for it, then it's usually because symbolically it means something, or it's because we're supposed to, like, gain information from it somehow.
Right.
The other number that shows up is the number 7.
Really?
Yeah, but that one doesn't show up as frequently, so that one's, like, one of the ones that's easy to miss. But when Tommy checks his phone to check the time, because, like, Beth has been missing for a little while, it says 7:17 on the clock. And then later, when they're, like, looking for Beth and he's flipping through the radio stations, he stops at 107.7. Which, like, you'd think he'd stop at the last radio station, which isn't 107.7.
Right.
But he stops there, so I was like, okay, 7... Like, I don't think they would have just randomly, like, picked those. I might be reaching here. But anyway, I was like, why are 7s important? There's the 7 deadly sins. Which is room for punishment by Krampus, I guess. But also, just because this is how, like, I think when I think of numbers, number 7 in tarot is the chariot. And what does Santa basically ride in?
Fair.
Bada bing.
Bada bing, bada boom.
In a chariot. But the chariot in tarot is, like, upright, it stands for, like, control and willpower, but in reverse, it's, like, lack of direction and lack of self-discipline, which Max exhibits.
Right.
But it's also about, like, making use of your emotions so that you can control what you want deep down and, like, how you feel about what you want. And he's kind of grappling with this want to feel attached to Christmas and to, like, enjoy Santa still, but also this want to not look like a baby.
Right.
Because he still believes in these things.
I did just look up, because I did notice that there was more than it just saying Krampus on the bell. And what it says really is, and I'm going to butcher this because I don't have the pronunciation to pronounce that letter because it's from the German alphabet, is like, Gruß vom Krampus, which is greetings from Krampus.
Oh, okay. I saw that it said more than that, but I didn't know what it said. But they actually, like, sing that at the end.
Yeah.
That phrase. Which is kind of twisted, because that seems like I'm being nice. Greetings from me. But actually.
Season's greetings. More like season's beatings.
Lord. So this is a super subtle thing.
It's me. Just kidding, I'm never subtle.
No, you're really not. You're about as subtle as a brick to the face.
Listen, I am a Leo rising, and everybody can get out of my way.
Somebody is listening to this and Googling that right now because they have no fucking idea what that means.
Good, they're gonna learn something.
Dude, I'm a Scorpio rising. Like, if you think I'm any more subtle than you are.
The dynamic duo.
Anyway, we're steamy. Well, that's funny. We have all 4 elements because we're like earth, air, suns, and then fire and water.
Hell yeah.
You complete me.
Cries. Cries baby tears.
I'm baby.
It's me, I'm baby.
How did this devolve into this?
I don't know. Something about being subtle.
I was about to reach my like grand finale of symbols here.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway.
Subtle.
So Omi keeps putting emphasis on the fact that they need to keep the fire hot. The fire, symbolically, is representative of like their Christmas spirit.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Because when it starts to simmer, like that's when the things actually can get into the house.
Right.
And then later on when it goes out completely and she can't even light the match, like Omi looks so disheartened and like broken up about that whole thing.
Yeah.
So it's just like they need to keep it burning to keep Krampus away, because as long as like they have some Christmas spirit left, he's not gonna like get them. But it's kind of hard to keep that alive when that thing is chasing after you and you're not sure why.
Aw, I love that. I was taking it more as because I recently rewatched all of the Chilling Adventures of Sabrina, because that's all I do. And they had that Yule episode like a year ago or whatever, and in that they had to keep the fire lit to keep the bad spirits out.
Oh.
Because if the fire was lit in the chimney, nothing could come in.
Right.
And then when it went out, that's when like the spirits came in and like were wreaking havoc. So I was taking it more as like that for like a traditional way of like why we need to keep it lit so that like stuff won't come down, because clearly there's a fire in here.
Right.
But that is a really cool like way of like relating it back to like keeping hope alive, keeping that spirit of Christmas alive, the warmth of family and keeping them close and things like that.
Right. Like even when you don't like enjoy them.
Right.
Like I would rather have a family that like gets on my nerves than not have a family.
Right.
So I think like that's kind of what this is getting at. I definitely could see the like keeping the bad spirits thing out though, because it does for a while until Howard falls asleep and then it goes out. And then all hell breaks loose.
Right. Yeah, no, but it's a source of, you know, family warmth and family togetherness. You know, Omi makes hot chocolate in the fire, like
right.
That old fashioned sort of way with like the really old like kettle and everything, and it's
and she's like, hot chocolate like
it's so cool.
Will make us feel better.
Yeah. I love that.
And like I think, and this isn't even just a Christmas thing, like, you know, from again, I feel kind of bad that we talked about a heavily like Christian movie and like now we're in Christmas land.
True, same.
But for my people who are listening who like aren't of that faith, if you live somewhere where it snows, you probably have had hot chocolate like when it's freezing out and you like it's too cold to go outside, or you just came in from being outside.
That was always the best. Yeah,
like I have really positive like connotations with that.
Mm-hmm.
And it definitely reminds me of like being home and like being warm and snuggling up to my family and like watching a movie or something.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think like Christmas spirit, but also the warmth of like your family. And
right.
I think the other thing that this movie is kind of getting at is that you shouldn't like just put up with your family on Christmas. Like maybe if they tried to reach out to each other more aside from the holidays, they would like each other a little bit more.
Right. And try to, like, genuinely enjoy each other for what you have and stuff like that.
Right, and not just being miserable because, like, it's not the way that you wish it was.
Right. Yeah, I always loved hot chocolate. That was always, like, ready whenever I would come back in from the snow, whether it was, like, my mom or my grandma, like, whoever it was, they'd always have hot chocolate ready for, like, me and my brother, or, like, me and my brother and my dad. Like, whoever was outside, we'd all come in and there'd be hot chocolate ready, and it was like, oh, yes. The best.
And it still is. It's like a comfort thing.
It super is. Hot chocolate makes everything better. I love it. I'm gonna have hot chocolate later.
Same.
I've decided.
Well, the other thing too is, so there's all the snow everywhere. There's that big snowstorm. And snow usually, like in literature, it stands for like hardships and death, but it's also new beginnings.
Right.
Because, it snows and then like new snow is constantly falling on top of it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like forever changing. And it's that same like forward motion into like a higher understanding thing.
Right.
Like these guys, they all got closer as the film went on. Like Howard and Tommy didn't like each other, and then Howard was like, look, I'm actually starting to like enjoy your company a little bit.
Right.
Linda and Sarah have a heart-to-heart, and Aunt Dorothy even kind of like warms up to everybody, and like people are warming up to her.
Mm-hmm.
So I wanted to talk more about the end because...
It's very up in the air.
Yeah, because... So, like I said earlier, like, you almost think that Krampus accepts his apology. Mm-hmm. But then it's like, psych! And then he tosses him into the hell pit anyway. But then they're in the snow globe, and it's like... I don't know, what's hellish about the snow globe? Like, it doesn't feel like a punishment to me.
Right.
Like, unless the punishment is that you're waking up every day and it's Christmas Day, and then you find out that all of these horrible things have happened, and, like, you have to just relive that over and over again. But it's a little too open-ended for me, I think.
That's fair. I think I want to take it as, like, because, as far as I knew, in the traditional versions of Krampus, when he takes you away, you don't come back. Mm-hmm. So you're stuck there. And so, like... I think that is there forever. That's where they're going to be now. But I want to take it almost as like how people interpret, like, I'm going to go back to Christian things because that's how I was raised, of course. And that's all I know is super well enough to go through it. You know what I mean? Like with any sort of proficiency. Like when they say that you pray for something, you're not just going to get that. You're going to get the opportunity for it. Mm-hmm. And he wanted things to go back to how they were. He wanted that closeness. He wanted to be close with Beth. He wanted, all those things. And I feel like it's not a given. It was an opportunity for it. And that's why Krampus came also, I feel like. And this is the result. He does get that. And now he gets to live forever. That's his wish.
Right.
You know what I mean? I feel like it could be that. It could be anything. It's very open-ended, which I do understand that could definitely be a lot for anybody to be like, well, now what happened? I don't have any definitive evidence of where they are or what's happening.
I think I almost took it like, Max was like the last man standing. Like he was going to let him live like he let his Omi live.
Right.
And allow him to be the one who like serves as the reminder that the Christmas spirit needs to stay alive. But that wasn't good enough for Max.
Right. And
so he comes back and he's like, I don't want your fucking bell. Like, I don't want to be the last person here. I just want to be with my family. And so Krampus is like, all right, well, it wasn't enough for you to be alive and, like, doing this, so I guess now you'll be in hell doing it.
That's fair.
Or maybe, I shouldn't say hell. I guess it's more like underworld. Like, they say underworld, not, like, hell.
Right, yeah. Mount Doom. Yeah, I do feel like they leave it open-ended, especially when there are so many other snow globes there. I'd like to watch it again and try and, like, maybe peer into some of them. Like, they all looked kind of dark, so I would like to know what those were.
Yeah, see, like, what's going on, maybe, if you can.
Yeah.
I don't think open-ended is a bad thing.
Right.
I don't love when movies tie up, like, every single loose end. Like, I like there to be some mystery and ambiguity to it. Mm-hmm. See, this is hard because I don't even know, like, how I would change it to make it better.
Right.
Besides taking out that fucking, like, very last scene of them all, like, peering into the... like, jumping out into the camera. Dude, I hated that. I was like, this was great, and then that got so... It just cheapened, like, the whole ending.
I love it.
Did you listen to the Krampus Carol of the Bells at the end?
Not enough that I could talk about it because I, like, just rewatched it after watching other stuff and I had it on silent, so.
It really freaked me out. Like, I think
Did
that
it really?
was the part of the movie that unsettled me the most. I'm not gonna sing it.
Krampus. Da, 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 da.
It's just like, it's like a parody of Carol of the Bells, but, like, about Krampus coming to get you.
I love Carol of the Bells.
Same, but then they, like, hush to a whisper, and they're like, shh, I think he's here.
Me.
And that's how, like, it ends. Like, that's how the
Oh
credits
my
end.
God.
And it left me with, like, such a weird, like, feeling in the pit of my stomach. Like, I was like, oh, I did not like that. No, thank you.
Bruce von Krampus.
I really liked Adam Scott and Toni Collette's performances in this.
Yeah, they did such a good job.
And Toni Collette, I know she's the mom in Hereditary, but she's the mom in The Sixth Sense.
She's just forever a mom.
She's like, she can only play a mom in horror movies.
Horror movie mom.
And then Adam Scott, I was really impressed by because, and I think this is because it's a horror comedy and not like a straight horror movie, but he shows up in Hellraiser 4, and I couldn't take him seriously at all because he's Adam Scott and he's in like Step Brothers and Parks and Rec and The Good Place.
Oh my God.
And so when I realized it was him, like, I just couldn't take the rest of that movie seriously because it was Adam Scott, and like Hellraiser 4 took itself really seriously.
Right.
So I was glad to see him in like an in-between role where it was scary and funny, because I feel like he did better in that than he does at like an all-serious thing.
That's fair. That's how I feel about Tim Curry. I love him so much. But whenever he's in anything scary, all I hear is Nigel Thornberry. And I'm sorry, but Nigel Thornberry is not scary. Eliza.
Smashing.
Like, I can't. Like, how can anybody be frightened of that?
Yeah. I don't know.
He's just so funny. I love him.
That's Adam Scott's the same way. Like, he's too goofy and I just can't focus on anything else. Yeah, I really like them in that. I loved Aunt Dorothy. I said that earlier. She, like, just...
Yes.
She made me laugh so hard.
She was so good.
When they asked her to take care of the kids, and she's like, well, I didn't like kids even when I was one. And then she's like, all right, I'm going to teach y'all how to make peppermint schnapps.
Yeah, and for anybody who has seen 2.5 Men, she plays the maid. She plays Berta, the housekeeper, in 2.5 Men.
Yeah.
And she's just hilarious, and I love her.
She's so funny. And, like, Howard's an asshole, but, like, was also funny.
Yeah.
Oh, the other thing that went with the rune thing.
Mm-hmm.
The dog who played Rosie is named Thor.
I love that.
Yeah.
So good.
Whenever Rosie ate the gingerbread cookie,
Me.
my dad and I were both like, who's a good girl? Rosie. I just love her in her little elf costume.
I love. What a good.
This is when I plug that website, Does the Dog Die?
What a mood.
Because I usually have to check that before I watch horror movies. Or when I notice that there's a dog in a horror movie, I'm like, oh no.
Mood. I think Linda and Howard's family altogether, if you include the dog, is 7.
Yeah.
There you go.
Whack. There's 7 of them, and then there's 3 people there from, like, Sarah's family, because it's Aunt Dorothy and Linda and Sarah.
That's true.
I mean, you know, now, like, we're reaching for it a little bit, but I could be like...
Illuminati confirmed.
Exactly. And there were 7 ornaments on the tree that didn't get burned, and 3 logs in the fire.
We're always, like, 3 steps away from being the Illuminati, like, confirmed.
You have that one locked and loaded.
Hell yeah.
I am ready to
ready.
Illuminati at any time.
Illuminati!
Dude, when the angel strung up Sarah with the Christmas lights and, like, hanged her with them,
Mm-hmm.
I was not okay with that. But that's also why I chose Christmas lights earlier as the weapon.
That's fair.
Because I was like, it's fitting with the movie.
That's what I was going to do. Instead I had to use candy canes.
Well, it is Friday the 13th, so that sounds like bad luck on your part.
Why are you like this? Illuminati.
I feel like every Friday the 13th, I'm like, this is the Friday the 13th. I'm gonna do a Friday the 13th episode. And it never is.
How unlucky.
Ha ha ha.
Ho ho ho.
Turn my own joke against me. What is 3 in tarot? Is that the Empress?
Probably. Let's look it up.
Let's find out.
It is. Is Sarah the Empress?
Well, so that's what I was just gonna say, is there's some, like, hardcore, like, badass feminine energy in this movie.
Hell yeah.
Because, like, Sarah's kind of a badass, and she even is like, I'm gonna go find Beth, and I don't care if I die doing it.
Hell yeah.
And, like, Linda wants to protect her kids, and Omi's trying to protect all of them.
Honestly, even Aunt Dorothy.
Dude, Aunt Dorothy with the fucking gun.
Hell yeah, what a
And they're like, finish it, Aunt Dorothy. And she's like, with pleasure.
An icon.
Truly iconic. Are there reindeers in this movie?
No. They talk about them, but there are no actual reindeer.
Sort of. They're like torturing poor Max. They said that Santa ate all of his reindeer because he crashed his
tiny
sleigh.
Reindeer.
Ugh.
Yeah, they say he crashed in the Rockies and had to eat his own reindeer.
This is the kind of shit I could see you, like, doing to Eddie.
Well, yeah.
I do want to go back and see if there are any other, like, runes or symbols or what have you on the masks.
Yeah, that's true.
Because I think...
I did like, one of the masks that the elves was wearing was, it looked kind of like, the Plague Doctor mask.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
Oh, I missed that.
So I thought that was kind of interesting. I was like, oh.
I think I only even noticed that symbol because I had just, like, I saw the one on the angel and I was researching that. And then I looked up and was watching and, like, that symbol is, like, on the mask that's in focus, like, right in the middle of everything on the camera.
Right. Yeah.
And I was like, oh shit, there it is again. So I want to go back and see because, like, I don't know why they would just pick that one rune.
Right, without including any others.
Right.
Yeah.
But I find it interesting that, like, that and the Celtic thing, like, they're different kinds of paganism, but they're all pagan. And Christmas is actually, like... And I can't believe that more people don't know about this, but Christmas is so heavily based in pagan traditions.
Yeah, well, it was easier to convert people to, Catholicism and Christianity if you were to use things that they already liked and used.
Right.
And just be like, well, now it's a Christmas thing.
Like, the Yule tree is pagan. Right. Like, the gift giving, the 12 days of Christmas, that's a pagan tradition.
Yeah.
Not of Christmas, but, like, the 12 days of gift giving, of Yule.
Right.
I don't know. I appreciate that Michael Dougherty did all of this, like, research into it and put all these little gems in there.
Yeah, it definitely makes for a much more rich, like, story.
Story and just, like, it's one of those movies that you go back and rewatch, and I'm sure if I watch it a third time, I'd be like, there's even more stuff that, like, I didn't talk about because I didn't notice that the first time.
Right.
Which is, like, the spiritual, like, antithesis to Horns, where you watch it the first time and you're like,
I got all I needed to get.
That's all I'm gonna get. Because you watch it again and you're like, yep, there's that devil thing again.
I feel like that's why I was so, like, tired when we talked about Horns, because, like, I watched it to death at that point, and I still got no more than what I already had. Right. And I was like, alright.
Yeah. I was, like, tired kind of the movie when we talked about it.
Yeah.
Because I think I'd watched it, like, 3 or 4 times that week just to, like, see if there was anything I missed, and there wasn't anything I missed, so I was getting, like, more and more irritated by it.
Yeah.
But this one, I'm, like, still... Because I just watched it for the first time last night, so I'm still really enamored with it. Still has that, like, Christmas joy.
That new movie smell.
Right. I mean, as for a horror movie, like, it wasn't super scary or anything, but...
No. But, I mean, it had its...
Not really supposed to be.
Yeah, no. It had what it needed, and I think it was good enough.
The bear spooked me, though. That, like...
More than the clown?
The clown, like, I had a visceral reaction to because I am so afraid of clowns.
Fair.
But the bear was, like, an actual jump scare.
Mm-hmm.
Because the clown isn't really a jump scare because you see the box and then it, like, the camera moves up to its head. So it doesn't, like, pop out at you. It's just disturbing as hell because it has, like, a mouth that, like, splits open, like, 4 ways and... And again, we're back to the, like, big mouth, like, wanting to, like, consume and consume gluttony thing.
True.
And that is the Christmas tea.
And that is the hot chocolate.
And that is my spiked hot chocolate with peppermint schnapps.
And that is the eggnog.
That really eggs my nog.
Oh my god.
Whenever we put blooper reels in the podcast, it's going to be 20 minutes of me just laughing at my own joke.
Good. Somebody has to.
Hilarious.
I think I am.
Someone has to.
It's not as funny when you reuse the joke right after I said it. When they think that there might be squirrels on the roof, and then Aunt Dorothy's, yeah, sure, maybe they're playing with their nuts. I was like, I bet they are.
But I like that it's like a crash and then glass breaking, and she's like, yeah, squirrels. I'm like, what squirrels do you know that sound like that?
Like, why would she go to squirrels? Why not, like, raccoons or something bigger, obviously?
A bear, perhaps?
A bear on the roof. Yes. 10 out of 10. I hate it when they do that. Black bears around here. Gotta shake my can of coins angrily at them. Make myself look big.
Draw a circle.
That was an oval! It has to be a circle!
But that's only for sea bears, so...
It's true. It doesn't work on land bears.
Land bears.
Sky bears, maybe.
Sky bears? Santa's new friend that he travels with. The Sky Bear. Amazing.
Here's your opportunity to talk about Dominic the Donkey and educate everybody.
Oh my god.
What have I done? I've opened Pandora's box.
It's Pandora's box, but it has little donkeys painted on it. My friend Anthony posted this poll on his Instagram that was like, did you grow up listening to Dominic the Donkey?
Yeah.
And it instantly brought me back to that conversation that we had in college where I was like, dude, do you know Dominic the Donkey? Because I think we found out that Jess had never heard of it.
I don't know. I know that Jess wasn't there.
Okay.
Because she had gone home, I think, to do laundry and hang out with her parents or something. And that's why you were staying in Jess's bed. That was the same night that I threw the meringue cookie at you and you caught it.
Iconic.
Amazing.
I feel like I found out about somebody who didn't know that Dominic the Donkey was a thing.
Probably. Either that or I feel like we were talking about Christmas stuff, like it was getting close to break.
Anyway.
We
discovered that we both knew of Dominic the Donkey.
Yeah.
And thus became soulmates.
Even though neither of us is Italian.
Yeah.
The Italian Christmas donkey. Hee-haw, hee-haw.
Okay, listen. Dominic the Donkey is the best Christmas song ever. And it didn't show up in Krampus because it is pure and wholesome and full of pure donkey Christmas spirit, and they could not even touch that in this movie, okay? Dominic the Donkey is perfection. All of that being said.
Is this your version of my Belleville rant?
Yes, it is.
Wonderful.
All that being said, my fiancé is Italian. And had never listened to it. And I was like, what is wrong with you? And he was like, well, the guy who made it is probably one of those New York Italians, and I am a Boston Italian, so I didn't listen to it. And I was like, that has nothing to do with anything, because I'm not Italian, and I love Dominic the Donkey. Hee-haw, hee-haw, the Italian Christmas donkey. So Mark was saying that he hadn't heard of it, and I was like, but I have, and I'm not Italian at all. So you being like a Boston Italian shouldn't matter.
Exactly.
But if you have not listened to it, and Anthony and I were talking about this also, and he was like, I feel like this is more of like a Northeast Christmas tradition.
That's fair.
I don't know how true that is. So when this episode goes up, I'm posting a poll to see if you don't live in the Northeast and you have listened to Dominic the Donkey. I want to know. Inquiring minds want to know. We need to know for science. And if you haven't listened to Dominic the Donkey because you're not in the Northeast, we need to get the word out there that this is the superior Christmas song.
So I'm trying to look it up, and I can't find where it was made.
The guy who wrote it was born in New York.
Okay. That's fair, then.
So he hit that on the head.
I didn't know this was so old.
Yes.
I had no idea that it was this old.
Dominic the Donkey is as old as Krampus.
Yeah?
It is ancient.
Sounds fake, but okay.
Dominic the Donkey transcends time and humanity.
Sounds fake.
It is 100% accurate.
Sounds very fake.
And anybody who truly grew up with the spirit of Dominic the Donkey will tell you that it's true.
I always hated it whenever Mom would play that. I used to get mad. I was like, why are we listening to this?
We're not Italian.
I said that, and she was like, who cares? She was like, it's Dominic the Donkey. We have to. I'm like, all right.
Have you heard the The Christmas Dragon song?
No, don't tell Jordan that exists.
Oh, I'm texting him right now.
Why are you like this?
I need him to know. Her name is Darcy.
This is all I'm going to hear for the rest of this Christmas season. I hope you know that.
It's a Roger Williams song.
Condemning me.
Good.
Why are you like this?
Because I am now Krampus, and you are being punished.
For not appreciating Dominic the Donkey enough?
Yes, I am now going to punish you with Darcy the Dragon. Both of those are alliterations that have D, like Darcy the Dragon and Dominic the Donkey.
I cannot believe.
They're both superior Christmas songs. It's just science, Courtney.
But what if I want a hippopotamus for Christmas?
I hate that song. Look, I lost fucking Whamageddon. I lost it in November. It was like November 1st. And I already had lost Whamageddon. So I was like, fuck it. I guess I'm just listening to Christmas songs for 2 months straight. And then by the time Christmas is over, I am going to never want to hear any of them ever again.
Isn't that always how it goes?
Yeah, but usually it doesn't start on November 1st for me.
That's fair.
That's when I start watching Christmas movies, but Christmas movies and Christmas songs are totally different.
But Christmas movies have Christmas songs.
Yes, but it's different than being stuck. People have Stockholm Syndrome with Christmas songs because they have to listen to them all the time in stores this season.
That's fair.
So they're like, none of us remember learning the words to Christmas songs. A lot of us collectively know them because it's shoved down our throats for months.
I feel like I remember having to learn them.
I repressed most of my childhood, so.
We used to have like a Santa that would sing, and I think it was like a karaoke thing.
Oh my god.
At Grandma's?
I'm assuming it's like a Christmas siren comes and like whispers the songs into our ears while we're sleeping, and then
yes,
we're all just...
a siren whispers the song.
The Christmas siren. We are all of the Christmas song knowledge is bestowed upon us, and then we just wake up and know it one day.
And now we're back to the Illuminati. We've come full circle.
Full triangle.
We've come full Christmas tree.
Oh.
That is a triangle.
Christmas tree? Triangle? Oh, Illuminati
confirmed.
And with that...
They're coming to get us. We figured it out.
Probably, and we're about to share it with the internet, so...
Crack the code.
We are screwed. At the FBI agent listening into my webcam and microphone right now. Please don't break into my house and steal me because I've cracked the Illuminati Christmas code.
Yeah, please. I have to deliver so many gifts. Like, give me some time.
Please, I spent so much money on them this year. I just
You can have me after Christmas is over.
Exactly. Let me have that one day.
I have gifts to give. I gotta be Santa.
I love Dominic the Donkey so much.
You also love Nestor, who is also a donkey.
I love Nestor.
You just have a thing for ass.
But I mean, I am an ass man. I will say that.
Hey. There you go. Now the whole world knows.
Now all of China knows you're an ass man.
Good.
I just texted Jordan the link to the Christmas Dragon song.
Why are you like this?
Enjoy.
That's all I'm gonna hear.
If you are listening still.
Somehow.
After all of that, after we completely derailed, which somehow didn't start at the beginning of this episode this time. We have less than 2 weeks until Christmas.
Yeah.
Which will either make you really happy or really stressed out. Could be a mix of both.
Could be both.
Could.
Especially if you have, like, weird relatives coming to visit.
Yes.
Like this movie.
And if you do, don't wish that they would go away, and don't rip up your Christmas list to Santa.
Yeah.
That's what I got from this.
Don't do it. Not even once.
Hating Christmas. Not even once.
Oh my god.
I love the part where he's like, I was under the influence. All I ate was candy canes and Christmas
Honestly,
cookies.
There's never been a bigger mood. Me as a child.
Like, that's why he started beating that kid up. I was under the influence of Christmas cookies and candy canes.
I like that he said he was under the influence, then paused, and his mother looked at him. He was like, you know, Christmas candy canes.
Candy canes. So thank you guys all so much for listening. Feel free to give us a follow on Instagram and Twitter at Hindsight Horror and Facebook at Hindsight Horror Podcast. You can also find our website at hindsighthorrorpodcast.com. And if you're so inclined, if you could rate and review us or leave us a comment on Instagram, that would be much appreciated because we're trying to get the reboot off the ground and we're doing lots of hard work for you guys to get some good content out for you. So, all that being said, until next time, and have yourself a scary little Christmas.
Stay spooky.
You're just gonna end everyone with that.
Yeah, pretty much.
Stay spooky. Stay spooky, but make it merry.
That's fair.
Merry spooky.
Merry spooks.
If Santa Claus's Father Christmas is Krampus...
Don't say it. Do not say it.
Daddy Krampus.
Why are you like this? Is that why people want to fuck Santa?
That's because they made the mistake of casting Kurt Russell as Santa in the Christmas Chronicles on Netflix, and I was like,
oh my god.
It really fucked me up. I just felt
like that was like a thing that's been going on for a long time, is that like,
is it?
Sexy Santa, and I'm like, why though?
Gross, but
they even reference it in Friends.
I don't like that. Why is that a thing? I didn't know that.
I don't know.
All I know is that I think Kurt Russell is insanely hot, and they made Kurt Russell Santa, and then I had some very confusing feelings. And my mom and I both were like, I would be a ho-ho-ho for you.
Stop. I've had enough.
You should watch it. There's a part where he picks up the guitar and starts singing this, like, rock song about Christmas, and I'm like, bells jingled.
Disgusting.
My star.
You're nasty.
My Christmas tree is lit.
I've had enough.
My bells have been jingled. I am ready to ho-ho-ho all over Kurt Russell Santa Claus.
Why the fuck are you like this?
You can take your headphones off all you want, but you can still hear me in your soul.
Disgusting.
Talking about the sylph. Bye. Ho 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 and all that jazz.
Oh my god. Ho ho no.